Welcome back to OpenLine. Tonight we are talking about politics here at home and around the world. Dr. Thomas Schwartz from Vanderbilt University is joining me tonight, and we always appreciate having you here. We've already talked a lot about the monarchy, about the Ukraine-Russian war, and I want to remind you this is OpenLine. If you have questions or comments, thoughts about what's going on politically in our world right now, call in, be part of the conversation, 615-737-PLUS. I do want to talk about the Biden administration, some moves the administration is making. The last big story, I think, is the student loan package and relief. This had been a long time coming. It was part of his campaign promise. Yes. And it finally rolled out. Is it kind of a Hail Mary, though, right now for his approval rating, likability rating, or not? It's
been hard to say. That, you know, pollsters have not really tried to measure a great deal what the real impact is. Certainly among those who had student loans and were affected by it, it was an extremely popular decision. There has been some backlash, an attempt to argue against it. Certainly there have been some economic assessments about the cost of it that have been all over the place, but even as high in the hundreds of billions in terms of how much it may cost. I think it probably is less significant than people thought. The turnout rate at that age is usually pretty low, although this might encourage some younger people to vote for the president's party or to the candidates who've supported this measure. But my own sense is that it's not going to have a great deal of impact.
Especially since we're not talking about a presidential election until 2024.
2024, yeah.
People have short memories.
Very short memories, and also this is one of those things that I think pales in comparison to the issues of inflation and some of the other issues that are really hot topics now. And
exactly, those are the hot topics, and this administration has really been dogged by inflation right now. Can't catch a break on it because the American people can't catch a break.
Yeah, well, actually, I think the administration thinks it has caught a break in that gas prices have gone down from their high, and they're hoping, I think they're really hoping that they'll get a sort of series of good news before November, even if they have to accept the fact that inflation will be there, but they're hoping to be able to say, but look, it is going down now, it's gone down on the gas prices. What they're worried about, I think, is a spike in food prices, anything disrupting the supply chain, anything that might lead to greater inflation.
And right now, there is a rail strike looming. We were just reporting on it earlier today that it could be Friday at midnight that rail workers go on strike, 90,000 of them. They've been bargaining for a long time now. If the railway shut down, that means goods are not getting to stores. Again, we have a supply and demand problem, and prices go up.
Yes, no, that would be a tough one for the president. Now, you know, he's generally seen as very, very pro-labor. He has some authority to try to get the two sides to bargain more. He can use some of his influence in that. But it would be, I think that a strike would not be in his interest or the Democratic Party's interest right now in terms of the midterms.
I guess what is the political dance, though? I mean, you let these unions and the companies, I mean, they've been going at it for 2 years in some instances. At what point does the president's administration say, hey, we've got a big stake here, like we have a vested interest in this?
Well, the big stake is 60 days till the midterms. That's the big stake is the imminence of the election. I think obviously if they could postpone it, get a period, just wait till after November 5th or 6th, that would be in their interests.
Let's talk about the presidential election again, and not until 2024. But you hear sprinklings of, is this person running? Is that person running? President Biden has said he's going to run again.
That's right.
He is 79 years old. Some would say his health issues are starting to show a little bit. What are your perceptions? What are you looking at right now?
What I'm looking at right now is the situation with the Republican Party, which is in this very awkward situation of being essentially dominated by Donald Trump, but with a fair number of Republican officials recognizing that Trump may very well lose if he runs against Biden. Now, the flip side of that is that Joe Biden's strength comes from the fact that he's seen as the one person who can beat Donald Trump. So, in a way, they are symbiotically connected to each other.
Which is crazy.
They both need each other in a way that Trump's presence validates Biden. Biden is Trump. Trump wants desperately to revenge what he claims was a victory, his loss in 2020. One can imagine some scenarios in which this could break. A bad defeat for the Democrats in the midterm elections could break some of Biden's support. A health crisis for either Trump or Biden that actually then indicated that both are quite old and opened up the field for younger candidates. But it's hard to say, and I mean, we are still 2 years off from the election, and a lot can happen.
We have learned that a lot can happen in a very short amount of time. Even looking at this DOJ investigation right now and the search at Mar-a-Lago, the court fight, does that just rally the troops who support Trump?
Yes, largely it rallies the troops on Trump, unless the government was actually able to say that there were documents there of a not just top secret, but top secret and very dangerously exposed by being at Trump's house. That they've not done. They certainly have the legal aspect of that, and they've leaked a lot of information in the press to try and make clear that there were some documents there that dealt with nuclear issues of the West. But I don't think that will have a real power unless they get more specific or can demonstrate real harm. They will keep trying to, but the legal mess that this is now in with a special master sort of diffuses some of the politics of it now and just lets Donald Trump proclaim his innocence or his being persecuted by the government, or the government continues to try this in the press.
Right. I mean, it gets so confusing unless you are a student of it and study the back and forth of what is happening in court, because people will just talk. I mean, it's just, you know, you can say whatever you want, and I mean, we all know you watch the network news these days, and it's hard to decipher what is true.
Well, yes, and this is a huge issue.
And this really gets in the weeds, and unless you're willing to sit down and really do some research and make your own educated guesses.
There are some fundamental issues here. One is that Trump left the White House in chaos because of his refusal to accept the results of the election. So some of this was inevitable given the nature of his departure. His unwillingness to accept the results of the election still, and the January 6th hearings still is a huge barrier. And it's one of those things that I think many Republican leaders will say in private, that they just wish they could move on from Trump, but his own the ability he has, the devotion that he has among his followers, and the fact that he still is really largely supported by more than half of the electorate keeps that from happening. The flip side of that on Joe Biden is I think a lot of Democrats would love an alternative and would love to move into a different, but they're very reluctant to speak out against the president of their party, who in their view saved them from Donald Trump.
Okay, we'll take another quick break. When we come back, more of our conversation tonight. Stay with us.